Hello, my queefy, gorgeous little slumber party listeners. It's your host, Tim Murray, and you're watching and or listening to the podcast where I interview Broadway stars, comedians, and drag queens about their sleepover experiences growing up. And today we have none of those things. We
Broadway
have
viewer.
a viewer of Broadway
That's right.
and a real slayer of off Broadway, I would say, and even more so off Broadway improv venues. We have Jerry from Superstore. Ever heard of the smash hit television show Superstore on NBC? Or Christian Grey from 50 Shades the Musical? Or, of course, the legendary, the iconic Baby Wants Candy musical improv team. Please welcome to the stage, Chris Grace.
Hello, Tim.
How are you doing, Chris?
How many episodes have you done of this now?
This is the third episode. We've done
Oh,
three.
it's not.
I can't count because a lot. Because there was the whole section of this pod that was with Peter
Yeah.
that no longer is. So it's sort of like I count like season 2 is solo, just me. And from there, I think I've probably done like at least 40, I want to say.
Okay, so this premise isn't getting a little long in the tooth, this slumber party premise.
Fun fact, you're my only second time arounder. You're my second time arounder. Nobody else has ever returned to the pod, so we'll see how stale it feels when I'm asking.
Because I don't remember what I talked about last time, so.
I don't remember either. Not a very memorable episode.
Well, because I actually texted you saying, why haven't I been on your podcast yet? And you were like, you have been.
You love this game. Also, when we were in London together, you said to me, how come you never asked me to be on your pod? And then I pulled my phone out and showed you the 3 text messages in a row where I had asked you to be on and you didn't respond.
Similarly, there was like a certain like hoodie thing that you wore, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing? Selling drugs in the '80s?" And you were like, "That's the third time you've made that joke to me about this hoodie."
We love to repeat, and we are not.
I will make that. You know, the greats. I don't know a lot about Patti LuPone, but having attended a Patti LuPone Seth Rudetsky performance out here in Los Angeles, Eric pointed out that every time she ends that one song, she has to do ba ba ba, whatever she does. You know, she does this arms for Evita.
The Evita arms.
Yeah,
Oh,
she doesn't care. And by the way, the audience would riot if she didn't.
Oh, they would throw things. They would freak out.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm not kidding when I say I know you're not a hardcore Patti LuPone person. Her book is one of the most entertaining things I've ever read in my life.
Really?
I think you would love it.
I don't mind Miss LuPone.
You don't mind?
I don't love the way sometimes I just realizing that this is heard, seen and heard in the public. What I'm about to say is that sometimes I just have a hard time relating to some of the vowel sounds that she chooses to use.
I love that you're being careful around that. Like no one has ever came for her for that before.
I mean, but not me. Not this
Oh,
rapier wit. This seasoned Broadway critic, and especially not on an illustrious podcast like the Slumber Party podcast.
You are a very seasoned Broadway person. You take in more theater than maybe anyone I know.
Except for my husband Eric.
Very true. Eric is
but
like a true theater nerd.
I
through
do
and through.
actually. I probably have seen more straight plays than he has. I recently read the script for the play Disgraced, which won the Pulitzer, I think, a couple years ago. I've been catching up on a lot of plays. I liked it. It's interesting. There's a whole like modern group of plays like Disgraced, Slave Play, Fairview, that are approaching this relationship to the audience in a different and interesting way, and it's hard to judge because you're just reading them on paper. So like there's parts of Disgraced, there's parts of Slave Play, actually really all 3 of those plays, there's parts where when you read the script you're like, ooh, how would this come across if I was like in the audience watching this. So you kind of have to go on like what other people say when they saw it. But like I will say the end of Fairview is like crazy. Do you know that play?
I don't know that one.
Oh my gosh, it's that is a play that I kind of, while reading, I was like, I kind of need to see this because there's three acts, and the middle act, I think it's the middle act, has such a strange conceit to it that you read on paper that you're like, I don't even really understand what's intended here. And then the ending of it's very cool. Anyway, Disgraced, also an interesting play. Disgraced reminded me of Oleana, which is getting a revival in London, I think.
Really?
Yes, I believe it is, or it's a virtual revival. I don't know. That's not a play that I think needs to be revived, but
No, I recently reread it because I am interested. I think the topic of Oleana is very interesting, and there's something really cool and fascinating about the power dynamics between a college student and a college teacher. And I'm actually writing a play about something similar, but the
yeah.
dynamics between a man and a woman, the way that they play out in that from a man's perspective, is like deeply messed up in that
No,
play.
there's a huge problem with play. So a huge a very large factor that comes when you structure a play like this, which is supposed to be, oh, both sides are equal. I'm supposed to come out of this play being like, who do I agree with?
Right.
So there's a problem when you stack the deck in such a way that you're like, this woman that's in is not a real person. This character in this play, and her motivations and the things are stacked in a way that are not nearly as relatable as the professor. That's my memory of it. I have to reread it, but I remember feeling like, actually, I felt this way when I saw that divorce or marriage story, with
I I totally see the parallel there.
where I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to feel like when I'm watching one character, I agree with them, then I watch the other character and I agree with them, but sometimes the writing isn't balanced enough to where you kind of are like, no, this one character is making more sense than the other, so it doesn't feel like this even tussle.
People say that about last 5 years as well. It's
Uh,
very, it's like very male perspective heavy, and the whole time you're like, she's obviously written as the person who you
yeah.
divorced.
Last
Like,
5 years, I've only seen the movie, which people say is not a good representation of the piece itself.
I
Like,
actually really, really like the movie,
okay.
but yeah, I guess if you've never seen it, had you listened to like the whole album before seeing the movie or no?
No, I mean, I've heard the line at the end of that song in Hamilton that refers to it. Nobody needs to know.
Very good, Chris. Very, your theater nerddom is really
That's
showing
all
now.
yeah. And I was like, oh, that's from last 5 years, I guess. Someone told me.
I mean, last 5 years, you'd really like that album. It's one of those albums where you're like, okay, this is an album I can put on and there are no skips. Like, it's so, so, so good. Every single song pretty much is like, there's like two or three where you're like, maybe I'll skip that when you're in a car
Hmm.
ride. You're like, Shmuel song, I'll pass. And then as soon as it starts playing, you're like, nah, I want to sing along to this.
Is this the podcast where all the famous Broadway people come on?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so because I mean, I'm okay with Jason Robert Brown sometimes.
A lot of famous Broadway people come on, but also we talk very freely, and you can say whatever
Wait,
you'd
did he
like.
write Bridges?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, I love Bridges, except for the parts of it that I hate.
Full disclosure, I watched the bootleg of Bridges during this pandemic because I
Oh,
missed it when we were in New York, and
he grabs a box of safety pins and builds herself a home.
safety pins. We used to do that
Safety
to each other over
pins.
and over
Yeah,
and over backstage at 50 Shades. Safety pins. Her accent is really something.
I saw Bridges of Madison County as part of Broadway Roulette. That was a service where you'd pay money and you didn't know what ticket you were getting that night. You just got a ticket.
How much?
Uh,
That sounds horrible.
it was like $50 or something basically. And the premise was every night we give away a Book of Mormon ticket. Um,
because that was the hot thing back then.
and the other premise was you won't get the same show twice. So
Okay, that's nice.
theoretically, you could go so many times they kind of like force you to give you a Hamilton ticket or a Book of Mormon ticket at some point.
That's definitely great. And I
So,
think if you either are one side of the camp or the other, if you're like the side of the camp where you're like, I see everything and I want to see everything, whether it's good or
yeah, then
bad,
it's good.
then it's really good. Or if you're like, a finance person who lives in New York and doesn't know anything about Broadway, but you
No.
want to take in the shows. But for me, I'd be like, usually there's like the 3 shows I really, really want to see.
Yeah.
And then maybe I don't need to see. That's not actually true. I really like seeing critiquing and thinking about stuff that I don't love either. We love that about Edinburgh too. Like even seeing bad stuff was really fun.
I love that in general. It seems increasingly unworkable in New York City to like just see every Broadway play as a normal person.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you feel,
yeah.
as someone who, I know you're a Pantages subscriber, for non-LA listeners, that's like the big theater
Yes.
in LA where the tours come through. Do you feel like that's worth it to have a subscription? Go off.
I think Evan Hansen, Come From Away, Hamilton are like this upper, a band's visit to me are this like upper level of quality. But like most of the stuff that tours around from Broadway stuff is like not to my taste, let's say. Like I enjoyed On Your Feet, that was fine. But like what was the other one we saw? Is it Bronx Tale? When we walked into the Bronx Tale, I was like, this is what I'm sick of in general. I've seen this in like 6 musicals. Okay, so it's either there's a bunch of kids yelling at me through half the musical, just like, you know, I can't believe I'm a kid. I don't have to listen to that teacher anymore.
My favorite is like, I'm a kid, I'm a boy, and I had my phone, and my phone is ruining my life. Where's my girlfriend?
By the way,
the technology.
Please, no more musicals that are like, you know, like, oh my God, your post went viral.
I know.
300 people saw it.
I can't. That whole, okay, I actually live and die for Dear Evan Hansen. I think the music is gorgeous, but that section of the end of Act 1, those voiceovers are so bad when they're like, 300, yeah, like you're saying, 300 people saw it. 4,000 people retweeted. Another person said they love you.
Well, I want them to, I wish somebody would be like, oh my God, 300 people saw it. 2,800 people saw it. Well, that number is higher. That's better. Just explain it to the 90-year-old grandparents.
Yeah, this is what that means, baby boomers.
It feels like it's a high school and they're doing like, this is our production of The Crucible. And like, you know, DM, did you check my Instagram reel? I saw that Goody Smith was like casting a spell, and then she like gets murdered because like her like TikTok account gets canceled or something. Like, and also we saw an early musical that had that social media stuff in it because they did that stuff when we saw Bear.
That's right. When in
that was
2012, the one in
with Missy, the one
your
with
friend Missy Pyle.
Yeah. And they did like phone projections and stuff like that in that production.
I really, really liked that show. But even then, that was 2012. I remember a friend saying to me, this feels dated already.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with technology is like, we're always going to have something new. So it's really hard to like keep up and feel fresh when you have, 40, 50-year-old people writing about what it's like to be a teen.
I mean, it's like, so I love the music in Evan Hansen. I think the songwriting is really beautiful. I love the music in Spring Awakening.
Love.
But some of the writing in Spring Awakening is like a 50-year-old being like, this is what teenagers like. Where it's like, I go to my room, turn my stereo on.
I also live and die for Spring Awakening, but we all got our junk, and My Junk Is You is really not good writing. That is, you just used the same word twice in the same phrase.
We just listened to the Audible book for a novel called Clara and the Sun, which is a wonderful book. Everyone should check out. Really good. It's written by Katsuo Ishiguro, who wrote Never Let Me Go and Remains of the Day. And the narrator, or the woman doing the voice for the audiobook, the main character, she speaks in a very particular way. She like talks like this a lot, and she's playing an artificial intelligence friend, basically. And every time she speaks, it reminds me of this thing on Spring Awakening where the girl is like, we're going to be at my house studying for the test. Want to come? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Want to come? I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then he's like, I have to go. I have to go.
The whole thing with like being a teen on stage was like leaning back a little bit into your hip, and then yeah, like kind of stuttering, like you're a little anxious.
Yeah.
It's
So,
it.
okay, so that one thing happens all in musicals is kids yelling at me, because I was
Okay.
in London and I saw like 3 shows in a row where they're just like, I saw Matilda and like two, I can't remember the other 2 shows, School of Rock or something, and it was just like, stop it with these kids yell singing with flat tone Nova Brado at me. And then the other thing that is happening a lot in these Pantasia shows that come through. So this happened. We went to see Bronx Tale, and before the show started, I was like, I know the show's gonna start, and he's gonna be like, "That's me, back in the old neighborhood. This is my buddy. They call him White Shoes Johnny because he always got white shoes." And then the show started. It wasn't that different than that. And so between that and On Your Feet and the Temptations thing and Summer and like all these different like biographical musicals, in the first 20 minutes, there's always just like, well, there I am on the stoop of my house, and then this recording producer comes up to me, and there's always like the recording or the agent or the producer or the manager is always like for Summer or On Your Feet or the Temptations, it's a primarily like African American or Latino American cast, and there's one white guy that's like the manager that's like, I don't know about this contract, and like always doing the same thing, and so I just got tired of it after a while.
I'm so tired of it. I said Michael and I saw Tina in London, and I'm a huge Tina Turner fan. And Adrienne Warren, I hear, is like unfucking believable, but we didn't see her. We saw the Replacements understudy on like a Monday
Mm-hmm.
night. So it was like kind of a low energy show. And that's exactly what I said to Michael. I was like, I'm really enjoying this at intermission, but I was like, I know Act Two is going to be the same Act Two of every biographical musical or bio movie that you see, where it's like, yeah, they had a bad childhood. That's kind of the interesting part. And then they make a bad deal with their contract, they lose all their money, and then they have to do a lot more concerts to make their money back. And it's like,
I would love
so
if
bored.
I would love if someone like Mary J. Blige or who's got like kind of a sense of humor that could do this. Where in the second act, like they get murdered and die, and like it just totally goes off there. Like it's like, wait, what? Like they get sent in a rocket ship to Mars, and the entire second half is just like
off.
all just bullshit.
Mars is so crazy. Do you think I could make a record deal and be the spin king of Mars?
Yeah, and then she's like, no more drama up here on Mars, Mary J. Blige, and then it ends, and then just. I will say in Summer, in the second act of Summer does a very poor job of dealing with her, like saying Adam and Steve to gay people. Do you remember that?
Oh, really?
She said that in a concert. She was like, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve or something. And I was like, they need to reckon with that in this musical, and they try to, and it's really half-assed in a very poor way.
Dad, that's not great. I really liked On Your Feet as well.
I liked On Your Feet, yeah.
I was not so sure about that bus moment when she just like freeze frames
Oh,
the bus accident. I was like,
yes.
I'm not so sure. Theater's hard. It's really hard to like make
It reminds me of the middle of Bright Star has a freeze frame moment that I thought was hilarious, which wasn't meant to be. Do you know what I'm talking about? The act break of Bright Star.
I remember a man's got to do what a man's gonna do because a man's
Well,
gonna
a
do.
man's gotta do what a man's gotta do, because a man's gotta do what a man does. I'm a man and I go to tell you what a man do. I'm a man, son. I'm a man.
That's what being a man is in a musical. It's either like that. It's like you gotta be a man and be a man, or it's like being a dad is really tough. Let's play some baseball, son.
Well, I was gonna say the equivalent is that baseball glove song in Evan Hansen.
I can't with this. Or like being a mom is like needing a GPS. Where am I going? Where am I going? Show me the Lord. MapQuest, Lord. It's all.
I'm surprised there hasn't been more musicals about swiping left and right on dating apps.
I'm certain there are.
That's the thing about Broadway is you can depend on that to be a reference in a Broadway show in 5 years.
Exactly.
When it should have happened like 15 years ago or something.
Right. They're just talking about MySpace now, like in Mean Girls, the musical. And then
Yeah.
in 10 years, they'll do another musical where they're finally mentioned TikTok.
I haven't seen Mean Girls. I assume there's some social media stuff in there as well.
They actually do a much better job in Mean Girls of making it. Yeah, it's more up to date for like 2019 when it came out. But
Hmm.
Tina Fey like tries really hard, I think, not to reference anything specific like Instagram or whatever. Because she was
Right.
like, I know this will be dated in like 6 months or a year or whatever.
Yeah. What's going to happen to Broadway when we come back?
Well, interesting that you say that. So this episode will come out next week, but as we were talking about 4 days ago was the March on Broadway. Were you following any of that on
Mm-mm.
social media? So there was a big march on Broadway because of, did you follow the Scott Rudin thing at all?
Yeah.
So Equity refused to, or at least just took a long time to make a statement about his abusive behavior. And so people were obviously pissed about that. People are very pissed about the racial inequality and the like wealth inequality and lack of like
Uh-huh.
transparency with these like rich white producers not making it clear where the
Did
funds are
they
going.
so after they marched, did they fix all that?
It's all done now. Yeah, it's all great. Actually, Broadway's up and running today. You can
Oh,
go
good.
see a ticket, go see
I
a
mean,
show.
as of April 15th, you're allowed to have theater in Los Angeles.
That's why. Doesn't that feel really wild? We're
That's
like,
great. And I'm a little surprised that no one has even tried to jump on it.
well, nobody in LA really has ever felt had an urgency to do theater. I
That's
guess.
true. That's true.
Except for
Um,
us, we should.
yeah, I mean, uh, the Scott Rudin stuff is interesting to me because, like, it's funny. I did see something that described it as like it's kind of silly to call his behavior an open secret in the business because like it's been written about, everyone knew about it. It was in no way a secret to anyone.
Yeah.
So it's it's strange to me a little bit because I feel like theater, and maybe this is the point where we're not going to accept it anymore, but theater has been very tolerant of tyrants, like ever since the beginning, including, you know,
Ethel
Bob,
Merman.
Bob Fosse
Yeah,
and
true.
Joe Papp and like other theater names. I don't know. My husband can give me five of these. Oh wait, was it
Andrew Lloyd
Jerry?
Webber.
I can't remember. He told me the story. It's either Jerry Herman or maybe Jerry Herman, that he was
Jerry
backing,
from Superstore.
maybe Jerry from Superstore was backing off of a stage and his whole cast saw him during notes and he fell off of the stage and like no one warned him because they
Oh
hated
my
him so
god.
much.
Eric knows so many theater stories. We
Yeah.
gotta get Eric in here sometime soon.
Yeah. So the thing, I guess my point is like, are we going to change the entire culture of theater, like literally of theater from like junior high up? It is a series of tyrants over and over and over. So Scott Rudin, yes, is a tyrant, but he is by no means like special in the world of theater in terms of the way that people abuse actors and the way that people create little fiefdoms of like, I'm the acting teacher at this community college, and if you ever were going to work again in the Saginaw Valley theater circuit, you know, if you want to get a character job at Cedar Point this summer, I don't know. I'm trying to speak your language.
And I'm just listening intently because it's exactly what I want to hear.
But you know what I mean? Like
Oh
like
yeah, I know what
my
you mean, exactly.
two of my high school theater teachers were tyrants. Multiple acting teachers that I had in college behaved in terrible ways towards their students. I have had directors that were tyrants. I had like a director in Edinburgh Fringe as an adult professional, like scratched the walls off of a 1,500-year-old rehearsal room that was like like a historical site. Just like scratched his fingernails into the wall because he was so angry that an actor didn't do the choice. Like so.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's. I definitely think it's worth it, like to maybe call Scott Rudin out, right? But I also wonder, is this just going to be like we just burned this one guy, and then like next year we just go back to the way it was? We're just like actors have to like take whatever shit because we have such little power, especially in like a lot of theater's contexts. Actors have very little power.
Very little power, and I don't know what the answer is to that. I think, unfortunately, I think in the immediate, very little will change. I hope that I'm wrong, but it doesn't really seem like there's going to be like the truth of the matter is theater is a losing venture, right? No, almost nobody makes money on it. To make Broadway shows happen, You need a bunch of rich investors to put a buttload of money into something that only 20% of the new shows are going to make their money back.
Yeah.
So that's not, unless you can figure out a grassroots like Bernie Sanders version of that, where people are like, everyone pay $3 for this Kickstarter to make, the next big musical happen. I don't really, because that's kind of what Be More Chill did. I don't know if you heard about that musical, but it was like a couple of years ago,
Yes.
another like social
I've
media
become
musical.
friends with George Salazar through
uh
Superstore.
oh right, I love George.
Yeah, he's
Love,
great.
love, love.
He's
He's
awesome.
so funny and such a nice,
And I would like
such
to
a,
publicly declare the crush that I have on Jason Sweettooth Williams. Is that his name? I just know he's called Sweet Tooth. He's from Be More Chill.
oh wow,
He
you know a
is.
lot about Be More Chill.
He's adorbs.
Oh my god, don't say adorbs on my podcast.
Please, you start the podcast with the word queefies. Disgusting.
That's cute.
Oh
Queefies
my
is
god.
cute. Adorbs
No,
is
no one.
over.
Okay, I just want to speak to the audience as someone who has worked in person with Tim and has seen other people working in person with Tim. No one in actual physical presence of Tim Murray has ever enjoyed it when he said queefies. And he has tried
Everybody
to make it happen.
loves it. It's a completely original phrase that nobody else uses. I love it specific to me. And what I was afraid of when you were talking about the tyrants you worked with was I was like, I wonder if he's going to name me. It was I one of the tyrants. In high school. I was an
I mean, you
absolute
have but you've also had your own share that you've run into at some of the regional
oh
things that you've worked on.
yes. I mean, I would say a lot of my college theater professors, not a lot. I had some amazing ones, but more than one were very verbally abusive, weird, crossed a lot of lines. And then yeah, also regionally some kind of wild shit. But yeah, specifically college, I think a lot of us agree. We did something called Gun Day in college, where our movement teacher had the juniors, a junior and a senior, come in when we were freshmen, and we came in as like messed up characters, and they came in with like in all black with like face paint on and guns that looked like real guns, and simulated a shooting on us. Trigger warning. I guess
You need to write this. You have to write this play.
I know, I really do. It's really the most like masturbatory weird thing. Another one of our professors was like, we were talking about how fucked up it is and why we're like, why is this still allowed to happen? And another one of our professors was like, oh, because you shouldn't trust your actors enough to just play high stakes. You should actually make them feel like they're about to die. Like
Mm,
that's what it was. It was like what? Like what was the purpose of that exercise?
yeah.
It's all, yeah, there's a lot of power over it's all, I mean, the theater world is tough. It's like, how theater people are. You've had your hand in comedy and in theater a lot. Theater people
I've been a
can
producer
be,
now several times,
yeah.
which is
How
fascinating as well.
does that really change your perspective on things
A
a
little
little bit?
bit. I have to say that if you have people that listen to this show that are only actors, that you probably don't appreciate your producers as much as you should. I'm just saying I'm on Scott Rudin's side.
He's gonna throw a baked potato at you right now.
And I will eat it because it's my cheat day. I can have those carbs. um, I produced the Voldemort show that you were a part of 2 years in a row. But like the first, were you in it both years at Scotland? You were.
Yeah.
Okay,
Scotland and
so-
then Scotland and London the second
I probably
year.
told you this, but this is something funny that really irked me when I produced it the first season, was that we got to Scotland, we got moved into the flats, by the way, which is like extremely stressful as a producer to try to move people into these like Edinburgh flats that are like so janky, and like all the processes by which you rent them are just so like sketchy. It's just like, wait, what's happening? You need 800 pounds from me all of a sudden for a key deposit or something. And then I got those green hoodies for people to wear as they hand out flyers, because in Fringe Festival you have to hand out flyers to get anything done.
Yeah,
And one of the cast members, when they got the hoodie, they were like, "Oh, these are nice. They're not cheaping out this year." And I was like, "Who's they?" Like in my mind, I didn't say any of this, but in my mind, I was like, "There's no they. Like all the money for this thing is coming from
It's
me.
me. Yeah.
I have paid for the entire thing. There's nothing happening here that wasn't like a check written out of my pocket. So like this idea that there's this like mysterious producer that could screw you over if they go cheap on the production this year. I was just like, you're not cognizant of like how this whole thing is happening. Um,
That is the
so
that
yeah.
is the crazy thing is like as someone once said to me, and actors listening to this, please don't be offended. This is just a very real thing that you should be aware of. Transparency. A company manager once said to me, the worst thing you can give an actor is a job. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And he was specifically referencing someone in a very famous Broadway musical who apparently ripped up a check in front of him and threw it in his face and was like, I've always hated you. I'll tell you who it is after the podcast. But like it was all this drama, and he was like, this guy was super super nice before he was in our show, and then once he was in the show, it was like all of these things kept coming up where he was like, they're against me. And a lot of the times it's like, yeah, there's a weird like camaraderie and system that happens where it's like you're trying to vilify somebody because you're probably insecure about the show or your role or how it's going to get received or whatever. It's like very easy to vilify people. I will never forget when I produced my first play that I wrote in New York. I did a Kickstarter to raise the money. We raised $6,000.
Was that the one about the
And
restaurant?
no, the one before that, I had
Okay.
another one that was called The Connector. I raised like $6,000 on Kickstarter, and with that money, I was like, I really, really value the actors, so I want to like pay them as much as I can from this. There were 5 actors, so I paid everybody a $500 stipend,
Oh,
which
that's insane.
is huge from
That
that
is, given that
very
context, that's
small,
huge.
yeah, from that very small amount of money. Because what you guys don't realize is like you have to pay a lighting designer, you have to pay for, sometimes you have to rent the space. I was in a festival, so I don't think we had to do that, but you have to promote it, you have to pay for marketing, you have to pay a stage manager, you have to pay the director, you have to, like, there's it just like the list kind of never ends where you're like, where does all this money even go? Like you have to print programs, probably, whatever. And one of the guys who was in the show who like wasn't learning his lines and was just like being an absolute dick the whole time said to me to my face, well, I'm he was uh on the second night of the show, he had literally paraphrased like half the script on opening night. The second night of the show, he was learning lines for an audition backstage.
Whoa.
And I was like, hey, I'm like very uncomfortable with this. You paraphrased half my words last night. I'd prefer that you'd be looking at this script right now. And he was like, well, you're barely paying me anything to do this show, so why would I do that? And in my head, I
Wow.
was like, barely paying you? Like I had to like beg people to donate money. Like my
Yeah.
college voice teacher donated money so that you could get paid for this. You know,
Yeah.
like it's I cannot emphasize enough how hard it is to make anything or get anything done.
Yeah, and it's a situation where, like, yes, the actors should be paid fairly for their contributions, but in a fringe, wait, did you say that was a fringe thing? Like, or
Yeah,
in
it was like a
certain
festival.
festival contexts, especially where we were back then, like getting paid $500 to do a play is like I've done a lot of fringes for less. And it's
Me
not to
too.
say
Yeah.
that just because we've worked for free or whatever that I agree that like we shouldn't really be continuing this culture of like actors should work for free. But then also you have to recognize that sometimes like the producer is like the guy who is your like waiting tables next to you. That's a different kind of producer than Scott Rudin, you know. Um,
Right.
Here's a
Right.
question I have for you about Broadway that I realized while I've been thinking about a lot of like Broadway's role in our culture is I think one of the issues is that we apply um, mass media expectations to Broadway, and
Mhm.
Broadway is not mass medium. Like it is not scalable in any way. You cannot really profit on it in any way that just like the way you can sell a DVD or a streaming show or something, and like either 100,000 people can watch a streaming show or 3 million, and you can just profit off of that without more labor, right? But like the most people that can see Hamilton on a given night are whatever, however big that house is. Is it like 2,000, let's say?
2000. Yeah, something like that.
So that means in a week, 16,000 people can see Hamilton. Um, so in a year, a couple 100,000 people can see Hamilton. if an episode of Superstore got 500,000 viewers, they'd be like, cancel immediately. Like, that's so low. We can't sustain a TV show that only has 500,000 viewers on it. You know, like
It's wild.
Superstore
Yeah.
episodes would get like 4.5 million, and like 20 years ago, that would be like cancel instant. Like 4.5 million,
right.
no, too low.
Joey, the sitcom Joey premiered to I think 12 million people and was like canceled immediately. Like
I heard recently Bing Crosby had a radio show that 60% of the country listened to every episode.
holy crap.
So
You know how many people watch Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say that we want to talk about Broadway, and part of it is because Hamilton was such a big thing, but we want to discuss in pop culture. We want to discuss Broadway as if it was a thing that we could all share and have equal opinions on, and really care about the Tonys because I really like this guy versus this guy. This set should win over this set, but like it's literally a group of like how many people have seen all of the plays and musicals nominated in a regular non-COVID year, and 99% of those people live in New York City and probably are upper middle class. The demographics of that group is probably very, very homogenous. But yet we want Broadway to be like important to the country in a way. And so like, I think
Right.
that's a weird conflict that I don't know how to solve, but I think it makes it really difficult to like talk about these issues of like diversity and stuff.
Right. I have a theory that I think could really work that I'll get a lot of heat for. People do not like this, but whatever.
Is you want to be in every production.
I think put me in every show. Make me the star. Give me some really flashy singing numbers.
Well, this is weird. Tim
high
Murray in
songs.
Masterclass as
Oh,
both
fuck
the
yeah.
teacher and the student.
Doing this pose with my face.
I did think the other day, what's the minimum number of people that you could do a production of Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet with? Could you do it with 2 men and 2 women?
Yeah, I think so. Or you could just not do it.
You don't like that show?
No, I
love
do.
that
I like
show.
it. I like it. I was just the first 5 minutes when it was like she's doing this and he's doing that and
like that.
nobody is there. I was like, but now
There's a war going on out there somewhere, and Andre isn't here. We'll just do it, the two of us right here.
oh, perfect, great.
Sonia's good, Natasha's young.
That song drives me crazy. I don't need a patter song is my opening song. Thank you so much. But I love Sonia Alone is obviously my jam, and I die for like the last 2 songs. I think are so gorgeous. Okay, but my theory is that everyone is anti-bootleg, right? Which is understandable. Like people shouldn't be pulling their phones out in the middle of a show, of course. But the only people able to actually financially support Broadway, like the people that are paying this money, are either like Midwest tourists or international tourists, and the very, very rich, elite, older generation that lives in the New York area, right? None of those people, except maybe some of the Midwest international tourists, none of those older people are watching bootlegs. A 50-year-old woman in Nebraska is not going to watch a bootleg and then be like, well, I'm not going to pay for a ticket to see Wicked. That doesn't happen.
Right.
And same with international people. People aren't going to be like, I'm taking a trip to New York City, but I already watched the bootleg of Chicago. I'm not going to see it. They're still
No,
gonna buy
I
it
mean,
and
their
go see
niece
it.
will have watched the bootleg. And
Exactly.
they'll be like, we have to see that because I want to see it I want to see SpongeBob for real.
So honestly, tape the shows professionally.
I'm just kidding. I will
and
say
stream them.
SpongeBob's second best hip hop musical ever.
Oh my god!
That one hip-hop song?
And let me guess, your first favorite hip hop song, her first favorite hip hop musical was "Gentleman's Guide."
Anyway, so do you think they should bootleg?
I don't think they should bootleg. I think they should professionally record all of the
1
shows.
million %.
Put them behind a paywall, but a smaller paywall where people can watch them all over the world. I would absolutely. Do you know how many times I would go see Wicked even if I could bootleg it right now? Like I want to see that singer hit those notes, and I want to do that even more so because I know the show so well.
1 million
Same with Bright
%.
Star. Same with Dear Evan Hansen. Like all these shows.
Oh, I want to see Bright Star again.
I love Bright Star. I think the music is beautiful.
Let me write a song, a musical set in the South with no black people in it.
That is fucked up.
Thank you, Steve Martin. Let me
We've
write a
made
musical about a story about people in the South at a certain time. Let me end with a gospel number. Let me not cast a single black person in the show. Congrats. Thank
It's
you, Edie Brickell.
not a single person of color at all. It's
No.
really strange. Very
Yeah.
strange. It was a different time, Chris. It was 2014.
It was the 2010s. It was a different time.
It was a completely different. We're obviously being sarcastic. That was way too recent from
Okay,
now.
the thing I really agree with you on is I think for like I know that those videos are not great quality, but there's all the videos at the Lincoln Center Library. I can't imagine that the authors of these shows, like to me, it would if I was a person that had a Broadway show that had a show in that library, to me I'd be like, I think people should see. I want people to see my show, right?
Right.
And
Right.
probably there's a bunch of plays and musicals that are in that canon that have been forgotten about. That all it takes is some like regional theater director, artistic director to be like, wait, what about the Adding Machine, the musical or whatever? Let me watch that Lincoln Center thing, and okay, we're gonna license it to put in our season this year, and then Elmo Rice's granddaughter is gonna get an extra 75 cents that year or something. You know what I mean? Like the if I was an author, I'd be like, this is going to lead to my show being licensed more, probably. And then the thing that people are always like worried about is like, what if they steal the set design and the costumes from the fiasco production of Into the Woods or whatever? It's like, I don't know.
That's what I'm talking about. Where it's like we're way too
What are you
fucking
protecting?
precious as theater people. Yeah, get over yourselves. Like, just let them take it. Like, if as a comedian, if someone takes my joke, I'm obviously pissed, but then I'm just kind of like, whatever. I guess they need that more than I do. Like, you will come up with more new ideas. Let those children in the community theater in Wisconsin have your like fiasco blocking. Like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, why are we
I
being
I think that there
we're
are
being
some
too precious, I think.
there's some entities where you can say like, oh, this international tour stole all our designs or whatever. But those are people you can sue. You know,
Right.
like if a high school, wants to do, like, by the way, it happens all the time anyway.
It happens, right.
It happens all the time anyway. That like, oh, all of this choreo is from that number that they showed on the Tonys last year,
Yeah.
and it's fine. Like, none of those kids are going to take your job.
It's
Although,
fine.
although the people that saw that show eventually will go to Broadway and they'll be like, you know what, the one at our high school was better than this. Everybody, if you've come up through theater, you have someone in your life that's like, I saw them sing "Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat," and it was better than when I saw Walter Bobby do it.
Yes, people love to say that. Kelsey from my biology class played Mama Noah in Children of Eden, and it was so much better than anything I've seen professionally. Yeah, that's very much a real thing.
That's
But
why
yeah,
you gotta watch that encore show on Disney Plus, because that's when the people that think that you see them and you're like, oh, you were fine.
you were very good for high school.
Yeah,
That show is very sweet. I really like it. It's so
I want to
cute.
see. We gotta have season 2 of that.
Yeah, give me more.
I want more of that.
But yeah, I think that's all. That's how I feel about that. Is like we're way too precious, and we could just make it way more accessible. And I think that's why it's a good thing that like Disney's picking up all these shows and all these musicals are getting turned into movies, because that's the only way that like let Disney do 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and
Oh, they just signed that, right?
they just signed it. And like whatever you thought about the prom, I thought it was amazing
Is there
representation.
going to be an Asian American Barfy in that musical?
Oh,
I mean, I got a call back for Broadway for that, for Spelling
you'd
Bee.
be a great Barfy.
But somebody named Josh Gad got it instead of me.
And then he never worked again.
Yep. He created a
That was his
terrible
last
sitcom
role.
about the White House, and then you never heard from him
I
again.
forgot about 1600 pen. I forgot about that.
I mean, if I was Josh Gad, I'd be like, I'm playing Barfy. Like,
Yeah,
that's what I would
obviously.
do. Obviously, I'm playing Barfy. Like, what are you going to give it
You don't
to?
have a choice.
What? You think Fantastic Beasts is such a hit, you're giving it back to Dan Fogler? No. I'm taking it.
I'm taking it. Get real. And like, I mean, the prom, obviously, like the prom was not a hit on Broadway. I think it lasted 9 months. And so then like Netflix picking that up and making it a multimedia thing that everyone in the world could watch was amazing. And we got great gay representation with James
Oh,
Corden playing a
second.
homosexual.
That's right. I will say my second crush I'd like to announce on this show, Brooks Ashmanskis.
Let's talk Brooks Ashmanskis for the
Brooks
rest of the time.
Ashmanskis, as someone, I will say this as a comedian, as someone who's very critical of comedy on Broadway, Brooks
Go on.
Ashmanskis is the funniest person I have seen on Broadway.
I
And
knew you
like
were going to say that.
funny, like in any context, not just funny for Broadway. Just damning, it's not damning with faint praise. He's a genius
The listeners of this
comedically.
podcast are going to be like, here he goes about Brooks
Oh,
Ashmanskis
have you
again.
said this before?
I'm obsessed. I mean, I just everything I've seen him in, I'm like, how are you this brilliant? Like
Yeah.
sometimes the writing is like, it takes you a second after he's left stage to be like, wow, that writing was bad. And he really
Yeah.
just made every single moment of it work. In Something Rotten, when he would just like look at his nails as he was leaving stage,
Oh, I only saw the tour of that. Who was he in it?
he was like the dad of the Puritan dad of the blonde girl
Okay.
who had like a bunch of gay bits and like kind of a nothing part. So funny.
Yeah.
I think he would be. I mean, imagine him in the producers, revive the producers. Like, he's just that man can like really do anything.
He is so funny.
So
And
good.
I think he's adorbs as well.
He's very handsome. Speaking of being funny, and speaking of being down with the teens, how did you?
What? Weird segue.
How did you become a TikTok star?
Oh.
Let's talk about
it only happened because I just like so I used to use Musically, which is what TikTok used to be.
Oh,
Uh,
right. Okay.
People would just lip sync on there, and then I just ended up on TikTok. Like I actually am an early adopter of almost every single thing. Like I'm Twitter user number like I want to say like 9,000 or something like that. Um, when you used to be able to find your Twitter user ID, I'm early on lots of things, and most of them I give up on. So like I was early on Twitter, and then just kind of like didn't bother for a while. Um, I was in early on Clubhouse. I've let Clubhouse kind of go. I'm actually surprised more Broadway people don't sort of jump on Clubhouse.
I
Uh,
can't imagine being on a bigger Zoom for longer. It sounds like my absolute personal hell.
it is not the best, but it's an interesting format, is what I would say.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and then TikTok, I just have been. It's actually when TikTok first started, I would genuinely promote it to other people as it is a genuinely fun social media experience like Vine, because Vine was so much fun. Um,
Mine was
and
really fun.
TikTok is extremely creative. There's a lot of funny people on it. It really promotes remixing other people's work in a really interesting way, collaborating, sometimes copying, but sometimes like taking someone's work and putting a twist on it in a way that's very modern. That like really back in the day, people would be like, "You stole that from me. You can't do it." But like this is a different generation where it's like, if you do something and I put a twist on it, and then someone, it's okay if someone puts a twist on my thing, or if they take the audio from my thing but put it with the video of someone else's, and it creates these really interesting like artistic results. And as early on, I would say TikTok is so fun. There's no drama and there's no politics on it, so it's a great app to go onto to just see a bunch of fun people. You can follow and like the people that you think are cute, and the algorithm will give you more people that are cute. So then, over the last year, it's become extremely political, but not in a bad way. I follow a lot of people that are like very smart and know a lot of information about like COVID and that kind of stuff. And so it's become useful in a different way. It's not as fun as it was. But so the whole time I was just putting up like a couple videos. I mean, honestly, people that really do TikTok put up like 3 to 5 videos a day.
Damn.
But like they're very low effort. So I would just like a lot of times I just like see something and just be like, I'll do my version of that dance or whatever. And actually, I took the time of learning some of the early meme dances, and so some of those blew up. And so I've just sort of gradually like gotten more and more people. And then I would say in the last 3 to 6 months, for whatever reason, partially to do with the fact that Superstore got released overseas,
Mm.
now I have this like whole bunch of people that have followed because of Superstore. Whereas
And you're
I've been
doing
on Superstore the whole time, and like
yeah.
it wasn't happening before, but now, and the finale and all that stuff.
Well, I wonder if this is an algorithm thing but you're doing a really good job of responding to people that ask you questions about Superstore, which is
I
like,
do.
it's like your own fun personal page of like, it's like your own like behind the scenes of Superstore thing where you're giving these like fun
Yes.
backstage tea kind
I
of.
do that
And
sometimes, yeah, because they added this Q&A feature where people can ask you a question just on your profile page, and you can respond
oh,
directly to the questions. So I've been doing that, and that's sort of losing its luster a little bit because people are asking me the same questions over and over.
got it.
And to
I
me,
was
I'm like, this Q&A feature is the point of this Q&A feature is for you to go look, you know,
at the other ones. Yeah.
yeah,
I have not done that because some people ask me about like the alphabas and stuff because I've interviewed a lot of them on here.
yeah.
But I've been curious about that because I try to not look at the comments, period, because from YouTube and Twitter, I've just been so
For Slumber Party?
in general, I try to not look at comments like period.
Interesting. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
To what degree are you, I'm not saying you this is fun or that you want to do this, but to what degree are you like fostering like a community around Slumber Party? Like, is there a play, if I'm a Slumber Party fan, can I go somewhere and chat about this episode with my Slumber Party friends?
So for the first half of the pandemic, these episodes were live on YouTube. And
Yeah.
there I would obviously read everything. Anybody commenting in on the show being like, hey, will you ask the person this? I would like ask live questions, which was really fun. I had to stop doing it because I had a couple guests say some problematic stuff. And it was like, I don't want this live anymore.
Are these episodes still available?
They're not. I cut out the things that they said, but but
Because your first guest was Scott Rudin. That was interesting.
Scott Rudin, Harvey Weinstein, Louis C.K., all the big hitters.
And then you wrapped it up with Karen Olivo. That was interesting.
If that was odd, wasn't it?
She
That
just
was
commented on the previous episodes.
yeah. I said let's just go one by one, Karen. What do you think?
Yeah. And
Wild
then
that her name is Karen.
and then
she's
I wrote
obviously-
you an email about Karen Olivo on a plane, and someone next to me like spied on me. Terrible.
Oh my god, was that real?
I don't know. I just think it's such a weird idea that like I would that I'm sitting on a plane. I look to the next person. I read the email they're writing, and no offense, but I know who this guy and Karen Olivo are.
Right. So what Chris is describing is this thing that went semi-viral on Twitter that was like somebody on a plane thought that the director of Beauty and the Beast on Broadway from several
Wrote a
years ago
disparaging email about Karen Olivo to Scott Rudin.
to Scott Rudin.
But like the idea that I, as a random person, I guess I would know if it said to Scott Rudin in the subject line, but in the to line, but also I'm looking over the shoulder. I'm waiting for him to write his whole email. I'm committing to memory what he's writing. I remember what this guy's name is, who's the director of Beauty and the Beast, who I don't know who he is. I'm also know enough about theater that I know who Karen Olivo is. And
I smell a stunt. Yeah.
and
this
then
is,
yeah, and then I communicate that all to Broadway World, or I go onto all that chat and I write about it.
Yeah. So
It's convoluted.
it's really wild. It's all getting a little crazy. Before we go, if we were at
I love slumber
uh,
parties.
if we if we were at a slumber party together right now,
Yes.
what YouTube video would you want to show me?
Oh.
Isn't this a fun segment?
Can I look at my YouTube history?
You totally can, yeah. I'll think of what I would want to show you while you look at your YouTube history.
Well, of
We've
course.
watched a lot together because we've lived together for a month.
Of course, I would go watch and follow the YouTube channel Deep Dive Disney, hosted by Eric Michaud, who happens to be my husband.
Okay.
Honestly, this is the kind of bullshit you relate to, Tim. Because you probably watch a video where he reacts to Atlantis or Treasure Planet. You probably love that shit.
I've never even heard of those movies. Are you forgetting I'm very young? I'm very, very young.
Anyway, no, my
Extremely.
husband who's delightful and adorable, far more attractive than Jason Sweet-Tooth Williams or Brooks S. Manchkis, has started a YouTube channel called Deep Dive Disney, so I watched that. Anyway, you should go if you like Disney stuff. It's a great channel to watch. We have
love
watched a
Eric.
lot
He's
of
so fun.
we have watched a lot of YouTube videos together. In fact, when we were in, I feel like between me, you, and Alec Varkas, that we would watch a lot of like. I feel like you guys would be like, "Look at this riff this person's saying," or whatever.
Yep, that sounds right. That sounds like
And
us.
then you guys would be like, then it'd be like 10 minutes of the two of you going like, "Oh, oh,"
Fuck you.
trying to figure out how it
The
sounds.
wizard and I. That kind of thing. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a bitch, but that sounded really good, didn't it?
That did sound good. Okay, I'll throw a couple at you. One is I actually did recently watch. Every once in a while I watch the video for Rufus Wainwright going to a town.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh, do you know that song?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch that. Rufus Wainwright going to a town. I'm going to a town that has already been burnt down. I have this habit where, like, when I sing, I try to like imitate them. So if I sing like a Elvis Costello song, I'm like, Allison, I know this will, and it doesn't sound good. You, oh, Allison. And then when I sing Rufus Wainwright, I just try to like make my mouth as like lazy as possible. I'm going to a town that has already been burnt down.
That's pretty good, Chris. That's pretty
to
good.
I heard there were. Oh, what is this thing? Modern singers where they all go like. He doesn't do this, but it'd be like if a modern singer would go like, I heard there was a secret voice that Gabriel sang, and it pleased the Lord. And you don't really care for music.
Billie Eilish, is that you?
Yeah.
Billie, are you in the room?
Why do they say the word Lord? Why do they go,
Lloyd.
that pleased the Lord?
The
Please, a guy
it's like
named
they're
Lloyd.
doing like an old Woody Allen impression. Lloyd.
So along those lines, I would say to watch the video Rufus Wainwright Does Gum, which is where Funny or Die asked him to sing bubblegum commercial jingles. And what's funny is like they're actually really enjoyable, like very well produced. Him just singing like the double fresh feeling, better than feeling. Kiss a little longer, hug a little longer, give your not like freshness with Big Red. It's really enjoyable.
Okay, I would love to watch that. I would show you.
Yeah, so what'd you show me?
You have another one?
But no, I just skipped a bunch of sports things that you would have no relationship to.
Oh, yeah, I would not care about
like,
that.
Steph Curry hits crazy and one versus Celtics. You're not going to know what that means.
No, but if it's really impressive, you'd be surprised at how much I can sit and watch a sports thing. Like I watched. Go ahead.
Last thing is just watch a bunch of Alan Kim, the kid from Minari. Have you seen Minari?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, the kid is so cute, and all of his whole interview junket thing, and he won the Critics' Choice Award, and he started crying. It's so cute.
Oh, the little kid.
The little kid. He is so adorable. Anyway,
Okay,
what would you show me?
I think I would show you either, because I know that you're a sports guy, I would show you like a really gay sports thing. Like, I know you've probably seen it, but we'd watch like Tanya Harding hitting that triple axel for the first time. Or like
I'm a Midori Ito fan.
Midori Ito?
Yeah, do you know her? She's from like the generation before that. She was this Japanese squat skater that would do a lot of spins. Oh, and I'm also Surya Banai.
She's fierce.
She's the one that did the back. They were like, "Don't fucking do a backflip,"
and she was like,
and she was like, "Fuck you, I'm doing a backflip."
It's so cool watching that. Watching that is like it's so shocking and so fun.
I still haven't seen I, Tonya.
Qualified for it. You gotta watch I, Tonya.
I haven't seen I, Tonya.
It's honestly really good. I think you'd really like it.
I probably will.
So I'd either show you that, or you know what I would want to show you is the since we've been talking about behind the scenes TVT. Last night I watched the video about Elaine Stritch talking about missing out on booking the Golden Girls.
I haven't ever heard of this.
It's really fun. It's from her like one woman show, but they pulled like a 5-minute clip from her doing it. And she's like, she went in for the B. Arthur role. And she was like, she said she walked in and she said to the writer, I'm a little nervous. And sometimes when I'm nervous, I paraphrase a little. Is that okay? And the writer was like, no, I'd like for you to stick to my words. And she was like, well, instead of saying, can you bring the lamp over here? Can I say, can you bring the fucking lamp over here? And she said the writer completely shut down. All the producers laughed. The writer totally shut down. And she was like, that was it. I lost out on hundreds of thousands of dollars of syndicated money gone. It's just so
Yeah.
fascinating. It's just, I mean,
You
she's such a
know,
legend.
at my callback for Putnam County Spelling Bee, which was for James Lapine and William Finn, they
Ooh.
were doing these replacement auditions for Phantom Next Door. And as I left, I was like, do you guys mind if I go audition for Phantom as well? And they were like, ha ha ha. But I always thought in my mind was like, did that piss them off?
That's so funny. One time at Telsey, I said, they asked for an impression, or they said on my special skills, I had Katie Holmes impression, and I just kept doing the same thing over and over again, like pulling my hair, doing a side smirk. And I was like, Dawson, Joey, like Grams. And I was like, it's a lot of different choices as a joke. And they stonewalled me so hard. They were so unamused. And then when
Mm.
I opened the door and there's a huge poster of Katie Holmes and like a
Pieces of
movie made.
April.
Yeah, Pieces of April poster
Yep. I
was
know
like
exactly which
right
poster you're
there.
talking about. Yep.
I was like, whoops. What can you do? Okay, last question. If we were at a slumber party, what movie would you pop in? You're a
Ooh.
big movie buff, so this is
Well, we are currently watching all of the Best Picture movies in order. The next one to watch is Gigi.
in
Um,
alphabetical order.
no, in winning order or whatever. So like we
Oh,
just
I
watched.
thought you meant the nominees from this year. I was like, what order did you?
Uh-huh.
did you- Oh, wow, from way back when.
Yeah, from the very beginning. And I would actually say there's because I feel like you would appreciate some of these really well. There's some really well written movies back in the day, in the sense that like you think watching a movie from the 40s, you're gonna be like, oh, I can't really. It's gonna be tough to relate to. And there's some movies that it's like, it's it's amazing and also almost depressing that we're still talking about the same things. So like, this isn't the movie I'd recommend, but you can't take it with you. One Best Picture. And that movie is just about like a guy that they're like, this guy's a socialist. He doesn't like capitalism. Like it is literally like the Democratic primary debates from 2020 all
Woof.
over again. And it's just like, God, we haven't learned anything. Um, Gentleman's Agreement is about like, um, basically like prejudice and like how like a white liberal is potentially more harmful to protecting Jewish people from discrimination than like it's basically about Karens. Like it's crazy how accurate it is. But the one I saw recently that I think I would be interested in, because it's like something I think you'd be interested in terms of the writing of it, is Marty with Ernest Borgnine. Um, this to me, out of all the movies we've seen so far, is the first one that felt like, oh, this is like about like a guy dating. It's like about modern. If you see that movie, it feel like it set a template for so many like, maybe we're moving out of this era, but this era of like, boy, this guy just can't catch a break. Like he's trying, he's like, he's a sweet guy. It's a little bit like about being friend zoned in a way that's like a little. There's like one scene. By the way, every single one of these movies has a scene that's problematic in it.
Of course.
Like
Anything before 2015, honestly,
yeah,
has a
I mean
scene.
all the way through Crash.
Truly.
Crash is just this movie starts and it's problematic until the movie's over. But like I actually think some of these older movies, and the other one I would say is It Happened One Night. If you haven't seen that, is really
I've never seen
delightful.
that either, but my parents were actually just talking about that.
And that is a movie that like I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it, I was like, it's fine. And then the second time I saw it, it was in the context of all these other movies. So these really like old fashioned movies, some movies that are just like a play that they made a movie of and it won.
Yeah.
And then It Happened One Night comes in the middle of that, and it's so modern feeling. The relationship between the two characters is so like, like moonlighting or like any like, you know, we hate each other but we love each other kind of thing, like romantic comedy thing. It's like, oh, they were doing this like really well way back then. Fascinating.
Damn. Okay, I'm gonna put all those on my list. That
Oh,
sounds
I'm sorry. I'm going to give you one more. One more is it's nominated for an Oscar this year. I don't think it won, but it's called Collective. It's about the Romanian healthcare system. That movie is amazing. It is brutal. So I'll just give you the summary for that. a rock concert happened in, I think, in Romania somewhere. They had pyrotechnics that burned a lot of people. A lot of people were killed. They couldn't get out. You think the movie's going to be about this. The people that are the victims of that disaster go to a hospital. The hospital is completely infected with this like bacteria that like makes it your symptoms like way like you just get way worse. The hospital is not hygienic in any way. All the people that go in for treatment after this, like their conditions get worse, they die. And a reporting team from a sports newspaper decides to investigate the hospital as to why they're like disinfectant. They were diluting their disinfectants 10 times more than they should, so they weren't effective. And so this sports journalism team starts this like years-long investigation, and their cameras on them the whole way through. It is amazing.
Okay, that sounds great, honestly. Yeah, I love anything where like journalisms are taking them down.
Yeah.
Taking the people down.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Okay. I love that. Where can the people find you if they want to follow you?
Follow me on TikTok at Chris Grace Comedy. I'm on Twitter at Chris Grace, Instagram Chris Grace Comedy. I would like people to subscribe to my newsletter. It's at newsletter.chrisgrace.com. I'm trying to write more. I send out a newsletter twice a week. When does this come out?
Week from Wednesday.
Okay, so this will all be over, but I'll be in Texas next week helping a politician canvass. But I'm going to be I'm going to Texas to help with this politician. I've never like canvassed or door knocked before, and I'm using my micro fame to try to get word out to help this Democratic candidate get votes. Right. So obviously it'd be too late for all that, but I am going to try to like record it on my YouTube channel, which is Chris Grace Comedy, and try to like make a little vlog about like what it's like to volunteer. I've never done anything like this, like in terms of actual political activism. I've never tried to help people. Is that what we call it?
Help people, yeah.
I don't really consider
for someone else.
To me, it's weird when other people have needs. So I'm going to try to like see what I learned this next week. I'm going to Texas tomorrow, and I'm going to be like knocking on Fort Worth. So I'm going to be I fucking throw my mask out the window as we land on the tarmac. So check in there because I think I'm going to try to make like a video diary about like what it's like. I have no idea what it's going to be like.
Okay. I actually have some really close friends from college who live in Fort Worth. So
cool.
If you're looking to meet up with people you don't know for a drink.
I mean, also if they want to if they want to knock doors with me, that'd be great.
Actually, they might. Yeah, I'll hit them.
All right, cool.
They listen to this pod, so I'll tell them. Chris, thank you so much. Always so good to see you.
Thank you. And when are you going to have me on your podcast?
You're so fucking stupid. Bye, everybody.
Bye.